For a very long time, fear dictated my life. It stopped me from switching jobs. It stopped me from asking for a pay rise. It stopped me from putting an offer down on a new property. And if I hadn't learned how to overcome fear, I wouldn't even be here recording this video because fear would have stopped me from starting a YouTube channel. Fear manifests differently for each of us, but one thing is common, and that is that it can significantly impact your ability to achieve what you want to do. It can be the fear of failure, the fear of what people might think of you. It can be the fear of inadequacy. But as long as you let fear dictate your life, it will hold you back. So in this video, I wanted to walk you through how I used fear setting to ultimately change my life and make more money. Fear is a natural and a biological condition that all of us experience, and it has been ingrained into us for millions of years. When our survival was constantly threatened by predators, the risk of starvation, extreme weather, fear is what protected us. It aided our survival. But that same evolutionary response can, in today's world, actually hold us back. These threats that we once upon a time had are no longer an everyday occurrence. But instead, we're generally safe, we're generally comfortable, but our natural response still exists. Over the past year, I've met people from various walks of life. Some are loving the corporate life, aspiring to climb the corporate ladder. Others want to start a side hustle or start their own business. And throughout these encounters, I've often heard elements of fear being put through in people's thoughts. Like, I want to quit my job, but I don't have a backup plan. I don't want to promote myself on social media because I'm scared about what others might think of my work. I don't want to start that business because I'm afraid of failing. These feelings are completely normal and completely understandable, but if you aim to earn more or live a unique life or deviate from the conventional path, it is so important to confront these fears. Successful people are not fearless. They experience the same fears that we do. The difference lies in their ability to address and overcome them. So the very first thing you want to do is put yourself in the line of fire of fear so that you can understand what is actual fear and what is just a very high level of discomfort. And over the past year, I've started to use this concept that Steve Jobs talks about in his commencement speech in Stanford, which I probably watched over 1,000 times. I'll link the full video below. In this speech, he talks about 3 pivotal moments of his life. And the third of those 3 moments is about death. There's a quote that says, if you live every day like it's your last, someday you will most certainly be right. He said that this quote had a huge impact on him to the point where every morning he would look at himself in the mirror and ask himself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer to that question was no, for too many days in a row, he knew it was time to change something. Remembering that we'll all be dead soon is one of the most important things we can do to make big choices in life and to overcome fear, because almost everything, pride, fear of embarrassment, failure, external expectations, they fall away when death is at the face of you, and it only leaves what is important. If we truly understand this concept and we understand that our time is limited, it really gives you clarity to make meaningful choices that otherwise fear would have stopped you from making. If you think about it, right now, in this moment, this is the youngest you'll ever be in your entire life. And that completely blows my mind. When I started recording this video a couple of minutes ago, I'll never be that young again. When I started taking on this perspective, I knew that when I'm older, when I'm 18, assuming I live to 80, I'd be super disappointed with myself if I wasted the rest of my days trying to live someone else's path, purely because I was scared or fearful of something. For me, this is the most powerful perspective to take when it comes to big decisions that I'm often scared to take. There's also another logical approach to take, which is the concept of fear setting. Unlike goal setting, which focuses on aspirations and achievements, fear setting encourages us to confront our anxieties directly. By making a list of our fears, articulating the worst case scenarios, and then strategizing around them, we can turn our fear into very actionable insights. So in the second part of this video, now I want to talk to you through how I applied Tim Ferriss's exercise when deciding whether or not to start this YouTube channel. I'll just give you a high-level overview of how it works and how I apply it. And if you want to watch his full talk as well, I'll leave a link to that below. The first step is to take a pen and paper. I recommend to write this down physically. It has more of an impact when it's written down in your own handwriting rather than seeing it typed up on a computer. At the top of the first page, write, what if I, and finish it off with whatever it is that you are afraid of doing. For example, I wrote, what if I put myself on social media and started a YouTube channel? You can also write something like, what if I quit my job? Or what if I started that side hustle that I've been putting off for a while? Then below that, there are 3 columns. The first being define. This is where you write your worst case scenario. These are all the worst things that can happen if you go ahead and do the thing that you write at the top of the page. So for me, it was, what if my friends and family and colleagues see my channel and they find it funny and I get really embarrassed? Looking at other options, if it's to quit your job, maybe your worst fear is that you'll run out of money. Or maybe if it's to start a side hustle, your worst fear could be, what if it fails and it doesn't go anywhere? I would have wasted all that time. It's worst case scenarios that you can think of, and you want to write down a whole list and everything you can think of that is stopping you from doing that thing. The second column is prevent. This is everything you can do to stop the worst case scenario from happening or reduce the likeliness of it happening. So for example, for me, it was, I'll focus on myself rather than what other people think of me. And I'll gain validation and comfort from myself and the people that are closest to me. If it's to quit your job and you fear of running out of money, it could be to build up a bigger emergency fund or to get a part-time job whilst you pursue what you want to do. Or if it's to start a side hustle, you can say, okay, can I see if there is proof of concept? Has anyone else made money doing what I'm doing, and how has it worked out for them? Have they done something that I haven't thought about, or do they have an advantage that made it work for them but may mean it might not necessarily work for me? And then the third column is repair. This is where you write down everything that you would do to repair the situation and what you would do if your worst case scenarios do come true. So for me, it was, okay, I will just stop posting and I'll hide my videos until I become comfortable with posting again. It can also be, if you run out of money, then you'll rent out a room in your home or you'll sell your car. Or if it's a side hustle, it'll be, I'll learn all the skill sets that are transferable and that I could apply to the next thing that I try to do. Once you fill out those 3 columns, then that wraps up part 1 of the exercise. Part 2 of this exercise is what might be the benefits of partial success or an attempt at what you wrote down at the top of page 1. Imagine the scenario where you decide to quit your job to pursue a passion, and it eventually becomes a successful venture. This newfound success would bring with it a sense of freedom that you never had before. You can do what you love every day. You'll no longer have to worry about asking for annual leave from your boss, or worry about being told what to do, when to come in, when to finish work. Or an attempt at it might put you out of your comfort zone, and through it, you'll realize what your full potential is and what you're capable of doing that you would never have known had you not attempted this thing. And then part 3 is what would happen if you didn't take any action at all? What would happen if you didn't change anything? What would your life look like in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years' time if you didn't do anything? And for me, this was the bit that made me take action. The last thing I wanted was to be in the same place in 20 years' time as I am in now. Once you do this exercise, you'll find that either, number 1, yes, your fears are legit and you may want to consider them before doing the thing that you wrote down. Or secondly, your fears are actually not as big as you think. And as the quote goes, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. If you're able to identify how your fear is showing up, you can start to do something about it, because what was before subconscious has now just become conscious, and you have the ability to choose something else. So this is an exercise that I've done multiple times and that I keep doing whenever I'm worried about making a decision or I'm scared about what the outcome from that decision will be. If you give it a go, let me know how it works for you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy other videos that I have on making money and mindset, and I'll link them over here.